My warm greetings to you, and I welcome you to my presentation, wherein I present a new theory that I name the theory of profitable humanization. Theory development is a process, and the theory of profitable humanization is in the early stages of its development. I look forward to your feedback to improve the theory. In terms of the flow of my presentation, I will share background information and requirement for the theory of profitable humanization, draw out the importance of the theory of profitable humanization, share the approach to building the theory, introduce key postulates of the theory of profitable humanization. Thereafter, I discuss the implications of the new theory, and lastly, I inform the limitations and future research directions. The theory of profitable humanization has emerged from my experiences as a practitioner. I realize that in practice, we mostly engage with the cognitive abilities of employees, the rational economic conceptualization of human beings. However, a human being has many other faculties: physical, social, psychological, cultural, and spiritual, that are in dynamic interaction and each influences the other. This led to the reconceptualization of human beings into systemic economic framework and designing organizational processes to engage all faculties of employees. It resulted in a huge improvement in management practice. A book chapter entitled Viewing Organizations as Enablers of Happiness, in the edited book Exploring Morgan's Metaphors, Theory, Research and Practice in Organizational Studies by Ottenblad, Trehan and Putnam, was the first sharing of the initial conceptualizations that led to huge impact in practice. This research is an extension of that initial work. Hence, the theory of profitable humanization is very well grounded in the practice of management. The recent times of pandemic has witnessed the significance of employee safety and well-being. In a recent article published in Long Range Planning, Nonaka and Takechi advocated strategy of organizations to be human-centric, future-oriented, focused on impacting society, and quickly adapting to the changing external and internal environments. Croixon and his co-authors appeal that the unique abilities of employees should get manifested at work to get their real selves at work, resulting in high levels of engagement and not getting overwhelmed by the application of numerous technologies. The bottom line is, creating humanized organizations is a compelling requirement of current times. But what are the attributes of humanized organizations? Nord informs that humanized organizations have 5 attributes. They treat employees with dignity, employ the unique abilities of employees, involve them in decision making, particularly those decisions that impact them, provide meaningful work to employees, and treat employees as an end and not a means to an end. The French philosopher Immanuel Kant championed that people should never be treated as a means to an end, but always as an end in themselves. He reasoned that human beings have the unique property of consciousness, free will, agency, reflection, and forethought. These are so unique that they make them eligible for being treated as an end and not a means to an end. The current conceptualization treats human beings as a means to an end. The debate about the supremacy of shareholder and stakeholder also allude to treating employees as a means to an end and not an end. However, to humanize organizations, it is essential to treat employees as an end and not a means to an end. The questions are, how can employees be conceptualized as ends, yet achieve the goals of maximizing shareholder wealth and catering to stakeholders' interest? And what specific attributes are we referring to when we conceptualize employees as an end? How do we conceptualize human beings? There are many models. However, the two most prevalent are the economistic model and the humanistic model. The economistic model aims at optimizing shareholder value, operating transactionally, seeking short-term gains, and maximizing self-interest, while the humanistic model aims to promote human dignity and healthy relationships with all stakeholders. The rational economic human being is yet another popular conceptualization. However, we decide not only on rationality, and often we respond emotionally, politically, and even intuitively. In an earlier research, I had provided systemic economic human being conceptualization, wherein different faculties of human beings are in dynamic interaction with each influencing the other. Let me now dwell upon the systemic economic conceptualization of human beings. Human beings have multiple faculties: physical, emotional, cognitive, social, cultural, and spiritual, that are in dynamic interaction with each influencing the other. For instance, if I'm sick, it impacts my ability to carry out higher cognitive tasks or harboring overwhelmingly positive emotions for others or relishing the taste of a cuisine that I have been very fond of. Therefore, positive and conscious activation of each faculty of human being results in overall wellness of a person. In the classic book Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle describes happiness as the active exercise of soul's faculty in conformity with excellence of virtue. Further, he provides a profound insight that happiness is a final effect of human actions that are not the cause of anything. It means happiness is the final goal sought by human beings. It is logical that if employees are treated as an end, the happiness should be the attribute that should be measured, the measure of a firm's performance. The question is, how can a single measure of employee happiness be the criteria of a firm's performance and also enfold other performance measures such as financial and ecological? The theory of hyperspace of physical sciences provides insights on theorizing happiness as a meta-construct that enfolds all other effects, including financial and ecological. Let us now look at the theory of hyperspace. Hyperspace is a science of higher dimensions. In higher dimensions, laws of nature get simplified and phenomena is explainable. To elucidate, consider a battlefield in two dimensions. It is all chaos. The moment one gets to the third dimension of height, patterns are visible and an improved understanding of what's going on is possible. Albert Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life trying to find out a single equation that explained all the four physical forces of nature: the electromagnetic, gravitational, weak nuclear, and strong nuclear forces. The string theorists are able to provide a single equation that unifies all the four forces of nature at the 11th dimension. Analogically, happiness is the highest dimension that enfolds all other effects, financial and ecological. However, this assertion requires evidence. How in the organizational context can we create happiness? To create happiness in organizations, we look at the theory of intentional activities given by Sonja Lalubomirsky. He asserts that happiness is an outcome of three factors: set points that are genetically determined and contribute to 50% of happiness, life circumstances that factor for 10%, while 40% of happiness is attributable to intentional activities. Herein lies a huge opportunity for creating, yes, manufacturing happiness. The question is, what are the intentional activities that lead to happiness in an organizational context, and by what methodology should I identify them? I now share the happiness equation. The happiness equation makes use of employee wellness, the positive and conscious activation of all faculties of employees, anchored on the systemic economic model of human beings. The equation is employee wellness plus good intentional activities leading to happiness. It is the self meaningfully interacting with the environment that results in the creation of happiness. Let us now look at the conceptual model of happiness. The model is based on the happiness equation wherein the employee wellness plus good intentional activities results in employee happiness. Good intentional activities in the context of organizations are person job fit, continuous learning, employee voice, innovation, wealth creation, community service, care for the environment, and ethical governance. What is the evidence for the model? The initial development of happiness model rests on two sources. One, the gross happiness index measured by the Bhutan government, and two, the report by the Commission on the Measurement of Economic and Social Progress submitted to the then French President Sarkozy. This committee had two Nobel laureates, Amartya Sen and Joseph Stiglitz. The report suggested well-being as the measure of national progress. After the initial constructs were identified from these two sources, these were adapted in the context of organizations by studying the literature and validating the causal relationships. Next, I share the initial identification of constructs or good intentional activities from the happiness equation that leads to creation of happiness in the context of organizations. The second column in the table shows factors from the two sources I mentioned, the Bhutan government and the committee that suggested to the French president on a viable alternative to GDP as a measure of nation's progress. The third column shows factors distilled for organizational context that creates happiness. If you see the first factor, improved material living standards translates into wealth and value creation in the context of organization. A voice in the political process leads to employee voice in the context of organization. Effective and ethical governance and good culture translates into ethical governance, fair and transparent processes. Good education leads to continuous learning and innovation in the context of organization. Meaningful work can be ensured when there is a person job fit in the context of organization. Community vitality and social connections and relationships is all about social activities and organization scholarship behavior. Care for the environment translates into sustainability, and the psychological well-being, good health, good education, and cordial social relationships translates into employee wellness on the dimension of systemic, economic, human being. Thereafter, as a methodology, I dug into the literature to explore, examine, and find support for the causal relationships in the happiness model. Without going into a lot of details here, the literature supports the creation of wealth by continuous learning, indulging in voice behavior, and carrying out innovation. Therefore, creating wealth or maximizing shareholder value is a vital component of employee happiness. Person job fit is necessary for carrying out meaningful jobs and employing the strengths of an employee at work, both essential attributes for humanizing organizations. The literature also supports the association of voice and employee well-being, higher employee engagement, and superior performance. Similarly, literature supports the causal relationship between innovation and well-being and continuous learning and well-being. Let us now look at the key attributes of the theory of profitable humanization. The first attribute is conceptualizing employees as an end and not a means to an end. This conceptualization brings employees at the center stage of organizations, a call given by Nonaka and Takechi. Giving primacy to employees suggests the term employee holder, analogous to the term shareholder when lending primacy to shareholders, or stakeholder when giving priority to stakeholders. Next attribute of the theory of profitable humanization is a systemic economic framework of a human being. Carrying out conscious activities that results in creating happiness is the next attribute of the theory of profitable humanization. Having the single measure of performance as employee happiness that enfolds all other measures is the last attribute of the theory of profitable humanization. Next, I discuss the implications of the theory of profitable humanization to practice. This theory provides insights to practitioners on how, by focusing on employee happiness, the goals of profitability as well as sustainability are achieved. It encourages practitioners to engage with all faculties of an employee: the physical, social, psychological, cognitive, cultural, and spiritual. It advocates for designing of organizations by practitioners so as to enable the manifestation of all faculties of employees and getting the true self of employees at work. The normative theory of profitable humanization encourages practitioners to ensure person-job fit so that employees learn continuously, engage in voice behavior, and innovate. Finally, the implications of the theory of profitable humanization to practices: it contributes to creating humanized organizations that lead to profitability and cater to the aspirations of other stakeholders. The limitations and future research directions of the theory of profitable humanization are as follows. A definition of each construct used in the article will improve the quality of research and scientific writing. While I have adopted a narrative style in building the theory of profitable humanization, I could have developed prepositions that future researchers may test empirically, thereby strengthening the theory of profitable humanization. The theory can be further improved and strengthened by carrying out a further and comprehensive review of the literature. Finally, future researchers may develop a scale for measuring employee happiness, and this can be a single criteria for the assessment of a firm's performance. To conclude, the need for humanizing organizations has never been more compelling as in the current times. A challenging task of humanizing an organization has been to theorize employees as an end and not a means to an end. The other debate that generates more heat than light has been the purpose of a firm and whose interests the firm should serve and prioritize. Should it be the shareholder or stakeholder? This article makes a significant contribution to the body of knowledge by developing a theory of profitable humanization that treats employees as an end and not a means to an end. The article also provides a single measure of employee happiness as a multidimensional construct that measures the firm's performance. As wealth creation, community service, and caring for the environment are essential constituents of employee happiness, the theory of profitable humanization provides an alternative measure that promises to achieve multiple results while keeping the employee holder at the center stage of organizational design. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving a patient listening to my presentation, and I look forward to your comments, critique, and suggestions for enriching the theory of profitable humanization. Thank you so much.